Hello and welcome to Bugs in My Backyard podcast number 9. And this is Jonathan here with Bennett and Henry. And we're coming from our kitchen in Kearney, Nebraska, here to talk to you about insects for the 9th consecutive week we've done a podcast. I think we took 1 week off. 9 weeks.
Yeah, but then we did 2 in 1 week.
I think we just said because we were doing all the stuff. We went to watch the movie about the Platte River and we did the other things. So we were no podcast, but we have one this week, and it is going to be really awesome because we're just going to talk for a little bit less time than normal because at the end we have something really fantastic and amazing for people who like bugs. Something that you don't usually see when you look at insects. So we're going to show you something, and it's related to the topic this week, which is monarchs, butterfly royalty, otherwise known as, aka, Bennett's favorite insect. And I say that because you say your favorite insect is butterflies. Is that fair? Is that fair to say? What was Samuel's favorite insect? Do you remember that from week 1? What was it that Mommy didn't like?
Cockroach.
Cockroaches, yes. So we have one child that likes cockroaches. I don't know if we're going to do a podcast about cockroaches. Should we? Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, what's your favorite insect again?
Wasp.
Wasp, okay. Well, and before we get started, Henry wants to show everyone he caught an insect tonight. Can you show everyone what it is?
Fly, fly, fly. Little buggy bug.
So it's kind of hard to see in there. Let's see. Let me hold it closer. Oh no! Did it get out? Oh, not yet. We'll let it go later, but right now we don't want it to get out. So
It's a
lightning bug.
Yeah.
Or firefly.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's kind of hard to see in this little specimen container we have. But go to our Instagram account, which is at Backyard Jungle, and I posted a picture. Jungle.
Jungle?
Yeah, that's where we put pictures. And I have a picture of a lightning bug flying, so you can see it. And okay, so it's called a lightning bug or a firefly. So is it a kind of fly?
No.
Is it kind of a true bug?
No.
No, what is it then? What kind of insect is it?
It's an insect.
What kind of insect?
It's an insect.
What type?
What
type?
Butterfly?
That's a type of insect. You're getting closer. Starts with a B. Another one that starts with a B. Beetle. It's a beetle.
Well, isn't
beetles are
true bugs?
No, true bug is a different kind of insect. But anyway, so it's a beetle.
Like we have a true bug and a chicken. Milkweed beetles are beetles, but they're true bugs. Chicken.
No, milkweed beetles are beetles. There are milkweed bugs. Anyway, we'll talk about those later. Okay, but we spent 3 minutes not talking about our main thing, which are monarchs, which everyone, let's show them the picture of the monarch. Everyone, this is a picture I really enjoyed. I took a number of years ago of 2 monarchs on swamp milkweed, and you might know this picture because I think it's the cover of my book. I should know that.
No.
I just loved it, and so monarchs, and everyone loves them, right? It's everyone's favorite insect. Do you think, Bennett?
No.
Last year when all the painted ladies were flying around, you know how many times I heard people say, "Did you see all the monarchs flying around?" Because most people, when they think of a butterfly, they think of
Benny,
a monarch.
did you even let that go? No.
Okay, well, let's put the lady beetle aside, or the lightning bug aside. Okay, so monarchs. Everyone loves monarchs, right?
No.
Yes, everyone loves monarchs.
Samuel loves cockroaches.
Well, I know, but he still loves monarchs. So have you heard anything bad about monarchs lately? Any bad news?
Oh, yeah.
What?
And we have a pet. Chrysalis.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. But have you heard some bad news about monarchs lately? And then have you heard at school? Have they talked about monarchs? Are there more of them or less of them than there used to be?
They're endangered.
Well, not technically endangered yet, but there's fewer of them, And so people are doing a lot of things to try to get more monarchs. And why do you think, that for my first question for us today is why do we care? Why do we care?
Wait, Daddy.
Why do you care about monarchs? Focus on monarchs. Why do you care about them?
Because they're good.
They're good. They're what?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, first of all, they're beautiful, right? We like them. They look pretty.
And they're good boys.
They're good boys and girls. The other thing is, it's part of nature, and we love nature, right? So no matter how you look at the world, if you have like a religious view of the world or you don't have a religious view of the world, either way, we value what is here, And additionally, some scientists call them an indicator species. That's kind of a big word. Do you know what that means? No.
Yes. No.
So, okay, monarchs don't, they're pollinators, but probably not a big time pollinator. They don't, birds probably eat them, but they're not like a main diet for food for birds. Oh, actually, you're correct. They don't eat them. We should get to that. So they're not really like pivotal to our lives. Like if we didn't have monarchs, like they wouldn't really affect human life.
Wait.
No, I don't think you're not focused on monarchs here. So my point is they're an indicator species, meaning they may not actually do much for us in the world, but for humans, from a human perspective,
they kill birds.
But here's the thing. But the health of butterflies tells us how healthy tells us how healthy the world is. Because if butterflies can't survive, it's telling us, hey, maybe there's something going on in the world that's not great for the environment.
What about bees and wasps?
They can be indicators too.
And beetles and
they do more things for humans. So if you're looking at it from a human perspective.
And a beetle.
But anyway, so they're an indicator species. So we care about monarchs. And let's talk really about their life. Okay, so they obviously hatch as an egg. But this is what you see mostly, right? What's this?
A caterpillar.
Caterpillar. Okay.
Monarch caterpillar.
And then they turn into what?
A chrysalis.
A chrysalis.
A pupa.
Which is a type of pupa. So yes, which is the next stage in insects that go through complete metamorphosis. It transforms into something completely different. And by the way, a cocoon. Chrysalises are butterflies. Cocoons are moths. Okay, so butterflies don't have cocoons.
Before.
And then lastly, they turn into the adults, right? And
Monarch butterflies.
And one cool thing about monarch butterflies, Henry, is they migrate, right? They migrate every year. They fly all the way down. If you're on, the Rocky Mountains are in the kind of the western part of the country, like through Colorado and Wyoming and Montana and those places. And if you're a monarch caterpillar on that side of the mountains, where do you think, Bennett, if you're a monarch caterpillar or butterfly on the east side of the mountains, where do you think they go when they migrate in the winter time?
Wait, so where are we?
So if you're a monarch caterpillar east of the Rocky Mountains, so that's here. So if Henry's a monarch butterfly and they're going to fly south for the winter, where do you think they fly?
Mexico.
Yes. And they go to one little small area in Mexico, not like all of Mexico.
It's covered in
It's
flowers.
one small area covered, and that's pretty awesome. Isn't that amazing? They all go, and you know what, Bennett? Monarchs, butterflies don't live a whole year. So the ones that went north don't necessarily make it all the way to Nebraska, and the ones that are born here are butterflies that weren't in Mexico before. So how do you think they find their way to Mexico if they've never been there before?
They know.
They just know. We don't know why. It's crazy. On the west side of the Rocky Mountains, where do they go? Okay, if Henry was a monarch butterfly in Washington or Oregon, where would he go?
Let me see. So that's cold over there.
He's going to fly south. Where does he fly? What's south of Oregon? California.
Which way is?
California. So, south. Someplace in Southern California. So the Rocky Mountains are kind of amazing. Like we drive over them. Like we're going to drive over them pretty soon. We fly over them. But there's something about those mountains that can hold some insects and birds and things back. And we don't know all the reasons why. Part of it is probably the elevation. Anyway, so if you're a monarch on the east side, you go to, okay, Henry, thank you. You go to Mexico. Anyway, another thing about them we mentioned before, they don't kill birds, but they do eat. The caterpillars eat what plant do they sit on? Milkweed. And milkweed has a little poisonous substance in it, and so if a butterfly, and so if a bird were to eat the butterfly or a caterpillar, how would it taste? Bad. Yeah, it doesn't kill them, but they just don't like it. So that helps the butterflies, and so we've seen these pictures. Oh, yeah. Let's go back to the monarch.
They have kind of poison on their wings.
Look at the color of the wings. How bright orange they are. So they're telling. What are they telling?
Stay back.
Stay back. Bright colors, an insect, is usually signal to a bird or predator that you don't want to eat me. I don't taste good.
Yeah, because it kind of has poison on it.
Yep, in it.
Milkweed or weed?
Well, weed is a relative term. Great question. Weed is a term for any.
Like a milkweed.
Weed is a term for any plant that you don't want it where it's growing. And a long time ago, milkweed was everywhere, and so someone called it a weed. But it's a plant we have in our yard, and a lot of people are planting. So next, we're going to talk about. Before we get to our amazing video, we're going to talk about care and feeding of butterflies. And Bennett, what do we have any experience with this?
Yeah.
Because why? Why are we talking about monarchs today?
Because we have
talking to the microphone.
Because we have a monarch caterpillar.
Yeah, when did we get it?
But it's a chrysalis. About 3 days ago.
Yeah. Well, it was in the last podcast, right? We showed it. No. We found it. Well, you don't remember, but because Samuel had it. We found it in our milkweed, and I recorded it and put it at the end of our last podcast. And I could tell it was about ready to go to a chrysalis. It was very mature caterpillar. And so we often in our yard will capture a caterpillar and see it turn into a butterfly. And a few things about it, okay? Because Henry was just asking about the lightning bug, if we can keep that tonight. And I told him no, because we're probably not going to be able to care for it in a way that helps it stay alive. But butterflies are you guys looking at the lightning bug?
He stuck his head out, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to let him go pretty soon. But butterflies are a little easier to take care of, or caterpillars are, because it's very evident what they eat. Like monarch caterpillars eat only milkweed. That's their host plant. Without milkweed, they couldn't survive. That's why we have to grow more milkweed. So we bring it in, right, Henry? We put it in a safe container that we can see through. We put the milkweed stem in with live milkweed. In fact, we put a little water in it and we poke it through a plastic, whipped cream bucket kind of thing, and fill it with water and poke it through the hole so the caterpillar won't go down to the water. And we let it feed. But a couple things. One is you got to make sure you can get access to more milkweed if the milkweed you have dies. Second of all, you don't want to put it in direct light at all. So don't put it on a deck with the sun beating down on it, because in nature they can go and hide from the sun. Dry up. Yeah, it won't survive. So you want to put it somewhere not in direct sunlight, okay? And you just want to make sure you're changing out the monarch.
Milkweed plant.
Yep, on a milkweed plant in a container. We have ours in a little netting. But you can put it in a jar as long as you're putting in new milkweed.
Or if, a kid finds a caterpillar and he tells the mom to if he can keep it.
Yeah. Does our mom let us keep it?
And she says no. And then just go put on the milkweed plant if you have. Oh, right. I have a good story.
All right, go quick.
Okay, so once we found these swallowtail butterflies, and we put
caterpillars.
Yeah.
They weren't butterflies yet.
and we put them in jars, and we were going to go to Washington State, and they were chrysalises when we left, and then we came back, and, well, I think we only had one of them. The other one might have died or something. And then we came back, and the butterfly opened the jar, and it went out to
It was in our kitchen, wasn't it, when we came home? Yeah, it actually, we didn't know where it was at, and we came home just at the right time, and there was, long story, but yeah, it kind of surprised us, didn't it? Yep. So you can keep them, but you just have to be very careful. Follow those rules. And then lastly, if you want to, in your yard, like people talk about getting more.
Can we even show them the chrysalis?
Yeah, we're gonna show them. So people talk about helping monarchs. They want more monarchs, and they want to plant milkweed, right? So that's a thing, because monarch caterpillars need milkweed to lay their eggs. They got to. That's where they're. And there are different kinds of milkweed. And you can go to your garden store. I know, like, our garden store has some varieties. So there are different kinds. But here's the thing. People think it's just about milkweed. It's not just about milkweed. Because I want to show people a couple of pictures. Here is the first one. This is a monarch. But look at that. It is not on... Yeah, there's a couple soldier beetles over there. Yep. But this is not on milkweed. This is sedum. This is a very pretty plant, sedum, sedum, that flowers in the fall, right? And here's another one. This one is on...
Sedum.
This one is on aster, another plant that flowers later in the year. And here's the thing. So even though the babies need milkweed and the adults will feed on milkweed, the flowers, the adults will feed on anything that has flower, any flowering plant. So here's the thing. So when you're trying, just a second, let me finish my thought. When you're trying to, these monarchs that are going to migrate in the fall to go down south of Mexico, so they keep the life cycle going, they need a lot of energy to do that. And that means they're going to feed on anything they can, especially some of these fall, late summer and fall plants. So you need to plant more than just milkweed in your yard. You need to plant other flower plants.
Like, can you... That little long nose, like, sucks up the thing?
Yes. Thank you. That's awesome, Henry. That's a great point. So this straw that comes out of its mouth, it's called a proboscis, and you can see it on the screen coming out of its face and into the aster, and it's drinking up the nectar. It'll roll up when it's not using it, but that's how it feeds on the flower. What a great point, Henry. Thank you. I had forgotten to talk about that. So that's very cool. That's called a proboscis, and other insects have proboscis. Probosci, I guess. The Latin plural. But this is... Yeah, okay. So we talked way too long. I always say it's going to be short, but we have so much to say about bugs. So we buried the lead. The lead is we have a video that we set up our camera, and we did a lot of work to make sure that it was running at the right time. We have a video of a monarch caterpillar transforming into a chrysalis. So we often see this, you often see, let's find the chrysalis. This is something people can find out in the world, and they see the caterpillars. But the process that it turns into that takes the biggest part of it, the most significant and amazing looking part of it, takes only like 10 minutes.
Wait, Daddy,
and the whole process probably takes like 90 minutes. We got it on video, mostly the first part. We don't get the very end when it puts the finishing touches on this beautiful, beautiful chrysalis.
Daddy, I can see part of the butterfly.
You can kind of, well, I'm not sure what those are exactly, but it's a beautiful chrysalis. But it's even more amazing to see how it turns into that. So we are going to post that in conjunction with this podcast, that video. And we sped it up so it goes a little faster, so you don't have to watch it for 45 minutes. The first part we sped up like 2 times, because that's the coolest part. I want to make sure you can see all that. And then the last part where it kind of puts the finishing touches on the chrysalis, that goes really fast, just to give you an idea of how it works. So with that, thank you for listening to us talk about monarch butterflies, and we'll see you next week. All right, say bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.